I was very happy with the audience that we started building. I started getting recognized at Ring of Honor shows from people from Ireland, from Canada, from wherever. And I even remember, especially after we did the one with Cabana to promote the Road Diaries, we were doing a show in, it was somewhere in, it was Detroit or Dearborn, somewhere in Michigan. And 8 people completely independent of themselves came up and said, "Hey, you're the host of Wrestling Roundtable. I'm a big fan." Or, "Oh, you're Eric Santamaria, blah, blah, blah." And that was really gratifying because, I mean, it is validation in a way, but to know outside of the YouTube comments that it's a physical, real person in front of you taking the time out to introduce themselves and say that they enjoy your work, that was very gratifying.
Yeah, there is a bit of a strange thing that happens with this stuff where people feel very connected to those they don't know because they listen to their show or they watch the show on YouTube or a podcast or what have you, and then you never really meet them or get to know them. And so what I think in our society, it's a weird kind of, I guess, epidemic where everyone's connected, but they're not connected at all at the same time. And so hopefully through this podcast and through the other projects that we're all doing, we can actually connect with people. I mean, there's going to be, most people we're never going to meet, but it is so amazing when you get a message or you find someone in person and you get to see them in person and breathe the same air for a moment. That is the best thing, because people, they need to be more connected. We're so connected literally through our phones and stuff, but we're not connected as humans, organisms living on the same planet at all anymore, like in the actual physical sense of being near each other and at the same place. And
Looking
that's like
in each other's eyes.
Yeah, like that's why it's amazing when you see a concert or you go to like an NXT show or anytime we talk about wrestling, we do the funny voice, don't we? An NXT show.
And it always goes back to wrestling.
We have to make it relatable for the fans who are listening for that purpose. So
No,
we
but we do that. Everything always goes back to wrestling.
Um,
Like I said to you, something I wanted to do, some motif, and I said, it's kind of like when Kane would randomly show up on Raw in '97 to just destroy somebody. I want that sort of feeling.
Just watch the news. It's all a work. But that collective emotion that happens at a concert or at a show is amazing. You're connected with people you've never met, and you're in a movie theater. Movie's a great example. That you're in a movie and you're watching something with a bunch of people you've never met, and you're all kind of watching the same thing and feeling those moments. And I think that needs to happen more while still having the really cool internet connectivity that we all have instantly now. I think both of those things are important.
And did you have any favorite memories of doing the round table, favorite topics or episodes or jokes or points?
Watching you put up a sign while everybody watched you put up a sign. One time, Eric was just trying to put the sign up in the background, and all of us morons were standing there looking at him, and he kind of just looked at us. I don't think he said anything. You're like, "Why are you not helping with this?" No, that's just me and Rodney being me and Rodney and egging Eric on. But just
also wasn't what I asked at all.
Yeah, that's correct. Specific memories. The first for few shows, just sitting there with you and Rodney and having an opportunity at that time to talk about current events and having it be so timely. And the actually the radio show, the Blog Talk Radio show, was really like this. It was like being in an actual radio show, and in that format, getting to kind of have Eric lead us like Howard Stern or something, like a real host, and have us each take our turn. How I just was so fascinated by, I know it's not a specific instance, but just in general, the Blog Talk Radio show, how you took this YouTube show and were able to create a version of it for another media form and how it just kind of magically, I don't know, or instantly, just organically, that's a word used, a very cliche word, but organically became a radio show, and we figured it out. And that's, I guess, overall, we just figured out how to do this stuff. We figured out, well, we need lights, we need a table, we need sound, we need a few cameras and a hard cam, and we just figured it out as we went along, and eventually we made it.
I have a least favorite episode. I'm pretty proud of most of them, but the one that I was not happy with at all was the funniest and least funniest, because I don't know where my mind was, but I completely neglected to mention two of the funniest things ever in wrestling.
I'm imagining we're about to hear what they are. Yes.
Yes.
Do the drum roll on the table.
The paparazzi production skits with Nash and the Cruiserweights.
That also came up recently.
And the first JCW Juggalo, VHS tape. That is one of the funniest parodies, I guess, of wrestling I've ever heard.
That must have been the birth of Iron Sheik as a comedic character.
Kinda, yeah. And I didn't mention those two at all, so I was always disappointed forever with that. But my favorite episode, the one that I felt was the most fully realized Wrestling Roundtable, was our episode on the 10th anniversary of Owen Hart's death with the best and worst, or whatever, technical wrestlers. Between the backdrop of the ring ropes, the topic, through the Real News Network, I was able to use some clips from the Wrestling with Shadows documentary, which I really loved. Things like that. I thought overall that was what I envisioned Wrestling Roundtable to be. And obviously, we're our own biggest fans. I think all of us end up watching a lot of old episodes here and there.
We're like 60% of the views, I think. Is
But I forget a lot of the goofy stuff that I say, and I crack myself up and on some of our exchanges and jokes and stuff.
Because it's natural, Eric. It's natural. People just talking to each other as friends. You forget. Like even here, there's this weird thing going on where I'm doing a podcast, and am I really in the moment talking to you, or am I like kind of managing what's happening in my brain and listening to myself instead of being in the moment? And when you get those, it may not happen in every roundtable episode or every podcast, but there are those moments where you get lost in the conversation and it becomes natural, and you watch that back and it's like, oh my, that's real. That's an authentic, truthful moment of two people talking or three people talking. So hopefully we get there and I stop listening to what I'm saying.
It's a conversation. It's a long form conversation. It's just two people talking.
Did we start yet, by the way?
Did we start? Oh, it's already recording. Yeah, we've been recording since we got in the room.
Podcast humor.
But one thing that I was asked constantly as the years went on for Wrestling Roundtable, I'll ask you now. Why'd you leave?
Why did I leave?